Good afternoon, dear students and learners. Namaskar. You all are watching us on eVidya channel number 5 and also on our YouTube channel, that is NCRT Official. And I am Kusum Prasad. Dear students and learners, it's time to study English, and this session is for class 5 students. And our today's title is ELT is fun. ELT means English language teaching is fun. And to teach this subject, our today's expert is Dr. Arshad Akram Ahmed sir. Namaskar sir, welcome sir.
Thank you.
Sir is Head Department of Educational Studies, Jamia Millia Islamia, New Delhi. So dear students and learners, you can send your queries, your feedbacks on our various medium. You can contact us on our phone number, that is 8800440559. You can also email us on our email ID, that is dth.class5@ciet.nic.in. And apart from this, you can also send your queries, your questions and your feedback on our YouTube channel, that is NCRT Official. And students, before we start this session, we want to share a very important announcement with you regarding G20. We are proud that India assumed the G20 presidency and will convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in India in 2023. A nation deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism, India G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in our history, as it seeks to play a very important role by finding pragmatic solution for the well-being of all, and in doing so manifest the true spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. So now we move to our session, and the session is for class 5 student and the subject is English. And now we start the session and we move to our expert Dr. Arshad sir. Sir, how we can make the English learning more joyful and fun, sir?
Good afternoon, children and teachers who are attending this session. I am very happy that I am given to speak on this topic. The question that was raised by Dr. Kusum is how to make English a fun, loving and joyful activity. Obviously, for children like you who come from different linguistic background, language learning is always a motivating experience. So, to learn English with all motivation, to learn English with fun, to learn English in joyful manner, it is important that first of all you should do away with all kinds of fear psychosis that you have, that English is a foreign language, English is an alien language, because all of you know more than 1000 words of English. If I ask you what this is, prompt will be response from your side: pen, mobile, TV, bed, camera. All these words which are usually the English words you are familiar with. So what you need to do is you'll have to improve your vocabulary, you'll have to enhance your vocabulary, and also how to use words the meaning of which you know but you are not able to use them in given sentences. This little much effort that you can make, and the end result will be that you will be equally fluent in this particular language as others are. So no need to have any kind of fear just because that English is not your own language. So
yes, sir. Some students fear of vocabulary which are in the chapter, sir. So how, what tips you want to suggest to our children to improve the vocabulary and to learn that tough words, sir?
Obviously, there are different categories of words come across while going through a text. Text means textbook, and when you listen to what your teachers speak, you come across with different other words. So what you need to do is, first of all, you need to be curiously interested to know the words which are written in the textbook and spoken by your teachers or any elderly member of your family or in your surrounding. So your curiosity to know the words which are spoken, which are used, must be there. The second thing is that you should also be curious to know the meaning of that word, but by merely knowing the meaning will not serve the purpose. That means you should know how to use it in the sentence of your own. That will make sense. Otherwise, it will be a futile exercise, to my understanding and belief, because many of us know the meaning of words, but we are not able to use them in a given context. Madam asked is how to improve vocabulary. Obviously, there are different ways for improving our vocabulary. When we go through the textbooks, we always face new lexical items, new words. We should make a list of difficult words and try our level best to understand the meaning of that particular word. And once we know the meaning of that word, then we'll again read out the text. Then we'll be able to understand or comprehend the text properly. The second thing is that if you have zeal and passion to always improve your vocabulary, if you go to the market, if you go to the bank, if you go to the doctor's clinic, God forbid you should go, or any other places of your surroundings, any word of English, in case it is written, you should be quick to list out that word and know the meaning of that particular word. The second step that may be like this, But obviously, for the beginners, because the class 5 students, to my understanding and belief, are the beginners, So they always need their parents and teachers' support, What teachers need to do is that they'll have to make a glossary of words which are used in the real life situation, because in textbooks you'll have some limitations, All the words cannot be documented in the textbooks. So in case one word happy is there, so you should apply your mind how many other words related to happy are there in English vocabulary. Obviously you will quickly figure it out, like delight, joy, happiness, cheerfulness, pleasure, and related words. This exercise can be undertaken in the classroom by the teachers through brainstorming technique. Brainstorming technique is a wonderful technique, in which a teacher writes on the whiteboard or the blackboard one particular word and then asks students to list out related words. So prompt will come your responses, and sooner or later the blackboard or the whiteboard will be full of the words related to the word which teacher in the first instance has written on the blackboard or the whiteboard. So this is the second way of improving the vocabulary. Third thing is that at this stage you should start reading newspaper, magazine, or if you are fond of watching series or comic shows being telecast on the television. So any show, any episode, any cartoon or cartoons should not be viewed for merely entertainment purpose, There may be other purposes, and one of them may be that in case a particular person is using the word excuse me or sorry or would or could or any polite words used in English vocabulary, you should immediately note down such words and try to speak them whenever you find time and whenever such situations occur. So there are different categories of words, as I told you. There are words related to using courtesy. There are, you must be familiar with parts of speech at this stage. You must be familiar with noun, pronoun, adjective, verb, adverb, preposition, conjunctions, and interjunctions, and other words, like like words which are related to figures of speech like pun or simile or metaphor and all. Suppose a word live is used, your teacher is pronouncing it as live. So you should show your zeal, you should show your inquisitive sense that why the word of the similar spelling is pronounced differently. At one stage of time, the teacher is pronouncing it as live, and on other stage of time, she is pronouncing as live. Is there any difference between the two words being pronounced differently, however they are spelled in the similar manner? So such kind of zeal, such kind of curiosity will ultimately lead to learning this language with all kinds of fun, So then you may ask, you may have courage to ask this question from your teacher, why sir or madam you have used it as live? So then she will narrate the entire story, how live is different. Similarly, present and present, both are spelled similar, in the similar way, But the moment we say present, the pronunciation is different. We refer to present as gift, but the moment we say it present, that means we are talking about the time, So pronunciation also matters because English is a phonetic language. English is a phonetic language, not necessarily that whatever written on your notebook or on your textbook, that should be treated as grammar, Rather, the syllabic stress in the words and the way it is pronounced also lead to difference in the meaning. As I told you, live and live, present and present, and there is a number of words, which are spelled properly, similarly, but they are having different meanings, So your teacher and even you can list out the words which come under the category of homophones. Children, you must be familiar with word homophone. Homo stands for same, phone stands for sound. So words having the similar sound, same sounds, but they may have different spellings, they may have different meanings as well. So if you read your text in such a manner, you will find a kind of interest, because interest is very important. Unless and until you have aptitude, unless and until you have interest, unless and until you have motivation for learning any language, let alone English, you will not be able to develop the kind of zeal which is essentially needed for learning a particular language, whether it be enhancing the vocabulary, whether it be improving all the language related skills like listening, speaking, reading and writing. So first of all, as children, as children of English class, you should be great listeners. Listen to what your teachers say in English, and teachers also should not deprive their children of the pleasure of learning this particular language, because many of the children come from very poor socio-economic background, very poor socio-cultural background. They hardly find time to listen English words around them, So in case teacher is also not speaking English words in the classroom, they will not be given, children will not be given the exposure, because exposure to any language will definitely multiply the pace of learning, You will be able to learn it on faster pace rather in English, and the fear psychosis, the fear, I have to face the same problem as an English person to learn Hindi, which you as Hindi speakers, which you as Hindi, which you have Hindi as your mother tongue may face in learning English or any other second language, whether it be French, Chinese or any other language. Even Indian languages like Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, Odia or any other language, if they are learnt as second language, obviously they are likely to put you to many inconveniences. So this you must make it a point. You should not be worried, that this is not your language. But regarding English, you have on advantage position. Why? As I told you in the beginning, that you are familiar with more than 1000 words. There are many of you who know more than 2000 English words. What needs to be done is that you should pull through courage, you should try and speak English. Maybe in the first instance you speak not correct English. See, when you were a small child in the lap of your mother, you were like an infant, you know. So in the first instance you were not able to speak your mother tongue properly. It was your mother who would always motivate you. In case a child stutters, in case a child is not able to produce certain sounds, mother doesn't laugh at the child. Rather, she starts talking in the same manner. The purpose is what? To motivate the child, to open up the child. So, children, you should also have courage to speak in the classroom. Forget about the fact that you are not comfortable in this particular language, but the moment you start speaking it in the classroom, whether it is wrong or correct, you will be able to develop confidence, the confidence which is essentially needed for learning this particular language.
Yes, sir. So, is grammar play an important role in learning English language?
Very good question asked by Dr. Kusum. Now many of the linguists start talking about grammar, you know, because this is a myth. Whenever we learn any second language, we feel that we should take recourse to the mother tongue. We should always take recourse to grammar. Gone are the days when we would use grammar translation method, where the focus was to learn the rules and technicalities of the language, rules of grammar and technicalities of the language. Now the things have been changing. Now we are focusing more on developing grammatical awareness. For example, earlier we would give, as teachers, we would give a sentence to the students and ask them to underline which of the words in that particular sentence is noun, which one of them is pronoun, which one of them is other parts of the speech. But now we simply talk to the children, and by listening to what teachers talk, by listening to different TV serials and comic shows, you get accustomed to and habitual of listening to English sounds, and by doing so you internalize the grammatical rule. Instead of learning the grammatical rule, you internalize the grammatical rule, and that will pave the way for developing grammatical awareness. Now, two things, children, are very important. One is knowing the grammatical rule, another is grammatical awareness. I give you one example. Suppose I go to any trainer for driving a car. I want to learn how to drive a car, and the trainer in the first instance will tell me these are ABCs: A for accelerator, B for brakes, C for clutch. I know everything, but I don't have courage to drive the car. So what is the use of knowing all these things? Unless and until we are in a position to use that the language, or unless and until we are able to drive the car, the very purpose of learning or teaching any language will be defeated, you know. So now focus is on what? Functional grammar. And functional grammar doesn't advocate for learning grammar separately. If I am speaking again and again, this is a pair of specs, this is a notebook, this is a mouse, this is a mouse. Now, by listening to what I say, this is, you will develop intuitive sense and spontaneous sensitivity, which will enable you to use grammatically correct sentence. Though you don't know as to whether mouse is noun or not, notebook is noun or not, but you are able to use grammatically correct sentence by saying this is a notebook, and you are not saying it like this notebook A is. That means you are able to form meaningful sentences, although you are not familiar with the rules of the grammar. Children, what I am trying to say is that the more you practice the language, the more you are likely to gain in, the more you are likely to learn that particular language. The only thing is that you should have the courage to dive into the ocean of learning this particular language, and then what will happen? You will be able to swim through that ocean, ocean of knowledge which is related to language learning.
Yes, sir. So we all know that practice makes a man perfect. So how practicing a certain particular English language or any other language can improve our skills or can improve our learning power of English or any other subject, sir?
Language is a skill-based subject, and as I told you that we have as many as 4 language skills: listening, speaking, reading and writing. What we need to do, as I told you in the beginning, that we first, for being a good communicator, for being good speaker, we need to be good listeners. We need to be good listeners. So first of all, we should try to develop the habit of listening to others, what others say. And by doing so, and you can take example from an infant, a small child. When her mother talks, when a newborn baby comes to this world, her mother talks. Although the fact is the child will be able to speak properly after 1 year, but the mother keeps on talking to the child, and the child listens to. And then by listening to the sounds of that particular language, he forms the image, and that image will ultimately be reproduced in meaningful words and sentences. This is how we learn the language. So first be a good listener, and then, as I told you, you should not have any kind of inhibition or hesitancy in speaking the language. Treat yourself as an infant, not as a grown-up child of class 5. While learning this particular language, which is not your native language, which is not your mother tongue, don't shy away asking questions in English, though apparently, as I told you, you may commit mistakes or blunders at times, never mind. And by doing so, you will pull through courage, you will be able to generate confidence. So this is how you will speak. Then reading, reading is very good exercise. The moment you start reading, you may find it difficult to read out certain words. You take help of your brother, your sister, your mother, your father, or any guardian living in the vicinity, or your teacher, or your classmate. But don't pile up the confusion that you have while reading certain words. Read it aloud. If you start reading it aloud, what will happen? You will be able to develop more confidence. If you make silent reading, silent reading is good for those who read for understanding, for comprehension purpose. But reading aloud will definitely be helping you in developing the reading ability. So reading has 2 components. First is to read with ability. You are able to read it with correct pronunciation, and once you cross this basic level, you are able to read out the text. Then comes the second component of reading, that is reading with comprehension. And once you start reading, you will be able to develop your vocabulary, enhance your vocabulary, and once you feel that you have enough vocabulary to express yourself, you start jotting down in English, even though your teachers give you assignment to write in the target language in English, but don't wait for your teachers to give home assignment or any project. Be very quick and smart. Whatever is taught in the classroom, try to jot it down in English. Maybe you are very poor in jotting down in the first instance. Never mind, never shy away of doing so, but slowly and gradually you will be able to develop confidence.
Yes, sir. And last question I want to ask from you, sir. You want to give any tips or suggestion to all our students who are watching us, the students who are going to preparing examination and they are going to give the examination. If they want to score good marks, what tips and suggestion you want to give to our learners and students who are watching us, sir?
Dear learners, I would like to give you only one tip, and that tip will apply to all the examinations that you are likely to appear at in your life, and that is that be focused. Be focused. What is happening in today's world? We want to do this work, that work, a number of works together, as a result of which we are not able to do anything on perfect line. So, suppose you have to appear at the examination and you have to write your English paper, English examination. So, you should be aware of what is going to be asked in the examination. Obviously, there is particular syllabus and particular textbook prescribed to you. Obviously, in English examination, nobody will ask you what the third law of Newton is. Obviously, whatever chapters are there in your textbook, questions will be related to that. So, be focused about that. Second thing is, by reaching this stage, that is what, appearing at the final examination, it is very important that you make self-introspection, self-assessment as to whether you have learned everything or not. What happens, even at the age of, at this stage, when you are students of class 5, you feel that you have skipped many a gradient, many steps. For example, before the completion of class 4, you should be able to write properly in cursive writing, but you are not able to do that. You are able to read 2-3 letter words, but you are not able to read such words. You are able to write something, some paragraph or some composition, but you are not able to do so. So, while reaching in class 5, you should make self-assessment. So, whatever steps that you have missed out, you should not be worried about that, because you have still miles to go. What you need to do is quickly list down what are the areas which are grey means which trouble you, which puts you to inconvenience, and just take help of other teachers or any guide to abridge that gap, so that when you appear at the final examination, you should not shy away, or you should not lack in any confidence while writing the examination, especially in English.
Thank you so much, sir, for guiding and motivating our students and learners.
Thank you.
Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
And dear students and learners, now it's time to wind up this session, this English session. But before we wind up, we want to share a very important announcement. We are proud that India assumed the G20 presidency and will convene the G20 Leaders Summit for the first time in the country in 2023, a nation deeply committed to democracy and multilateralism. India G20 presidency would be a watershed moment in our history, as it seeks to play a very important role by finding pragmatic global solution for the well-being of all, and in doing so manifest the true spirit of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, or the world is one family. So, dear students and learners, it's time to wind up this session, but you don't go anywhere. There are a lot more sessions coming. So, keep watching eVidya channel and our YouTube channel NCRT Official. Namaskar.